Idaho born and raised on a farm. That was down by Moreland, just outside the Labs down in Blackfoot, Idaho, where I was born. We moved from the farm to Mackay and went to school there. So I think I'm third or fourth generation Idahoan, which I've always valued and appreciated. I came here in '69. I had an academic scholarship. I had postponed that for a year so I could go out and make some money right out of high school. Came here, heard of a job opening here, and it was close to home. I'll stay right here. And it's in the mountains, which I appreciated. Came here and trying to get a job, I gave my word to the individual that hired me. And I said, I won't fail you, you know. And I told him about the scholarship and everything else. Unfortunately, his wife had kidney failure, and there were not, back in '69, there was not the opportunity for dialysis around the state like there is now. They had to leave for a year. I haven't been with him, not even a year yet. They had to leave for a year to go to California to see what they could do for long-term remedy. And I was about to quit and go back to school. And because of this, he said, well, I don't know what we're going to do about this. So I said, just go, do what you have to do. And he said, well, you're going to go to school. And I said I wouldn't abandon you. This would be abandonment. I'd given my word, and so I didn't feel I could break it. And henceforth, from a college degree, I went to helping somebody out, keeping my word, and I started to run the business and ran it from that point forward. Ran the business for 30 years, bought the business out after a few years. So that's got me into the valley and got me into business. Ran that business for 30 years, retired 20 years ago. I'm 67. Bought my first piece of real estate here probably 45 years ago. Had to sell my horse, my truck, and my dog to make the first down payment on the first piece of ground that I ever bought. And then I continued every time I had 2 nickels, I'd try to buy another piece of ground, whatever I could afford, make payments on it, mostly through handshake deals. And kept acquiring real estate. I built my own first house from concrete to roof. It took me about 7 years, cash as you go. And so that got me into real estate and into business. I figured that would be a good secondary line of income, which has paid off well for me. And got me to that point. I retired like 20 years ago. At that point, I had to do a lot of thinking to figure out who and what I was and what I was going to do with retirement. Physically, I was a little beat up because it was a rough trade, plumbing businesses. Not easy, and worked hard at the business. I've always been driven. You know, coming from an agricultural background, that's the first thing you learn. You're up at 5:30 and you go till dark. But anyway, when I retired, I decided to make my retirement about other people instead of myself. And it was at about that time, maybe a little bit before, I started mentoring a lot of young people coming to the valley, trying to get into something they could afford to live, trying to buy their first home. Different problems, different deals. About this same time, I also, on some of the properties I bought, I started working after I was there, and started with rentals. I'd finished my first house, and then I was building rentals on the side. I'm proud to say that my rentals still are below affordable housing standards. In doing that, I was approaching the cities. I did a subdivision here in the valley down in Bellevue. I've since done, I branched out. I had at one time owned 1.25 miles of the river on the Big Lost on both sides of the river, and subdivided that over there. And I had rentals in Ketchum, Haley, and Bellevue, and outside of this county. Slow process, a lot of struggles in building them. Finally got rid of everything till the existing rental that I have now, about, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12. I kept those, and that's part of my retirement income, living off of that, plus some other investments that I made. So I had an early experience with subdivision, land use, this, that, and the other. I've been before the county, quite a few times for myself and for others. Making your retirement about others instead of yourself is like mentoring young people, whether it was in business or whether it was in real estate or investments or trying to get their first home. I did some conservation easements on some of my own property over on the Big Lost. Made some mistakes, learned from those mistakes, and went from there. A friend asked me back in '09 needed a little extra money, and so came to me, and I asked the individual, why you ask me? He said, you're an idea person, you're a problem solver, you think outside the box. So I explained what we do to gain some cash, and we put I think, I'm not sure of this, but I think the first time that they'd ever paid cash for conservation easement, and that was done through the Nature Conservancy. It's a piece of ground that is right above the Nature Conservancy, on up the hill across the road. And then they came back and others started approaching me, so I've done conservation easements for some friends, never for cash, always just another way of giving back. I firmly believe in giving back. And I served on, during all of this, I served on Bellevue's P&Z for 6 years, was ahead of it when we drew up our first zoning ordinance for Bellevue. Learned a lot through that, through everything that we do. That's how we learn. If we're sharp about it anyway. Takes me to the present time, and like I said, I and my wife Jennifer have been retired she was a first grade school teacher down in Utah. Known her for many years. Great friend and wonderful wife. And so that's kind of what we do, is try and volunteer around the valley and do as much as we can to help other people. It takes it up to the present time. They tried some friends tried to run me for county commissioner in the last election. And I said, boy, that's a job I don't want, because it's not easy. It's if you know anything about it, it's very complicated. And then this term came around, and the same friend stepped up and started asking again. And this is right before we had to declare. They've been talking to me for a month or two. And they started feeding back some of the same words that I said, we need to do this, we need to do that, whether it was housing, whether it was the budget, what we could do, some of the challenges that the county faces. And I call them challenges. I like to take a positive attitude, and I believe in goals and trying to reevaluate those and accomplish it. But all of the challenges we face in this valley are common to all, every resident, every taxpayer in this county here. I've been conservative in my views, but always looking to hear both sides. What I've also learned is that you really want to seek the answer for something, it needs to be a conversation, not an argument. I think our political system, starting from Washington, D.C., and it's been a long process to get to here, but it's not helping, it's hurting, it's dividing us. But we have a common challenge to face, so I think it's important that we have to develop a conversation. First of all, I need to convince you that, you're not wrong and I'm right. Going like, let's learn about each other, teach me what you know, make me understand where you come from. And business taught me that, conversations and communications are essential. Out of an intelligent conversation and not an argument, usually that's where a new idea is formed. And the truth, as I've said before, is always in the middle, seeking. So anyway, back to the campaign, I declared the last day possible. Because I told my friends, I said, if you can get me elected, I'll serve. I think they all know my work ethic, and said, well, I said, I'll work as hard as I can at it. I've had my own issues before the county commissioners. I've got experience, a little bit of experience with being on P&Z, and I've been before the commissioners many times with easements in my own properties, land use and such. Being county commissioner is not an easy job, it's very involved, and you'll never please everybody. But I think the most important thing that we can try and come up with as any elected official is serve all of the taxpayers of this county and do the very best you can to try and find middle ground and the truth. Listen, because out of it you learn something that you didn't know. At least it's a possibility. Or probably one of the biggest challenges that we face is affordable housing. I've had and maintained the price on my affordable housing for 35 years. I know how to build them, and I think I have a pretty good knowledge and understanding of land use and how we can go about it. It's a deep, broad subject. We can, I've heard people say, well, we need trailer courts. Very well, but there's a multiplicity of answers and problems that come into this. We can't just glom onto one idea. But what we have, what's causing our affordable housing issue, what Sun Valley Economic Development found out when they started, that was to bring business to the community. So this valley became more self-sustaining. And immediately found out that we have a huge housing problem. When I quit building rentals back 25 years ago, I explained to it was in Bellevue then that I was doing stuff, and I said, you don't understand that we're already behind the power curve on rentals. And for affordable housing, we need rentals, we need duplex, triplex, maybe a fourplex is about as far as I would go. And then we need standalone home, an opportunity to buy a home at an economical rate. Because most people that are coming into this valley, the workforce, the hospitals had an opening for 17 employees for over a year and a half for attendees and nurses. And they can't fill these positions because all the people come up and say, yeah, we love it here, and the hospital pays a resort, bonus as far as wages go. But they said, we can't afford to live here. Not enough has been done, not to criticize anybody's efforts toward affordable housing, but not enough has been done to meet that need. And we just lost 60 more units at Norfolk. We were behind, now we're further behind. But I told Bellevue when I quit trying, I says, you're gonna realize how important this is. But the problem we have is we have a very narrow valley with a mountain lake district laid on top of it. So land is the quintessential problem that we face, affordable land. Sun Valley doesn't have anything to consider for affordable land use. They're doing new employee housing up there right now. If the truth be known, Ketchum approaches it, Haley approaches it, they're all looking at it. The county has looked at it, tried to help where they can with the old Blaine Manor and such. But Ketchum can't meet its own housing needs, in my belief. There isn't enough ground. And this is a countywide problem. Haley can't meet the needs by itself. The county doesn't have enough to answer these needs because they're huge and they're going to continue to get worse every year if we want to be sustainable here and rather than just based upon a resort valley here. God bless the Holdings because we enjoy many things here because of their what they bring, what they have brought to the valley. But to be a complete valley, we need it all. I think the answer lies in many different things, but we have rakers on the north of Bellevue that wants to come in. we have, or on the Eccles on the north of Bellevue wants to come in. And Rod Raker and his brother own 180 acres to the south. They both approached Bellevue. And not a criticism, but just an honest observation. What we see through this is what the county commissioners did. Bellevue does not have a current zone of impact in place. And instead of stepping up and say, let us help you, mediate between you and Haley, and come up and expedite this process so you have a zone of impact. Instead, they simply said, if you try and go forward with this, we will sue you. And I'm not criticizing the commissioners, but I'm saying always be willing to take that extra half step. And that half step is going, let us help. And if we took that on from the south and north end of Bellevue, we obviously want affordable housing as much as we can. At the debate the other night is next door municipalities, but there isn't enough ground around, or all of the municipalities to do this. But Bellevue could take in Eccles approached and wanted to do on just the east side of the highway. Now they're interested in coming in on the west side of the highway, let alone, Rod Rinker and his brother Kenny coming in on the south side. I haven't even sit down to figure out, but what that would do if we did the zone of impact and we work together. I mean, anything Ketchum wants to do is great. We have a need, we need to meet it. Anything that Haley wants to do is great. We need every unit. But we're actually going behind instead of ahead because we just lost 60 more units. Bellevue, I don't know, I take a guess that probably another 1,000 units could come on the market. Over time, it's not going to come right now. I remember when Woodside was approved, that's been many years ago. And there was a lot of people saying, no, we don't want that, not in our backyard, this, that, and the other thing. Now there's many people living in Woodside, and, we're talking about coming in, or there's been talk about coming in, on the south side now to where you would see all of this. Anytime you dump a bunch of real estate onto the market, you're going to depress the price to a certain degree. And the developer's going to offer opportunities. They're going to discount to try and sell some of their first units to defray the cost of, the annexation and subdivision process. So there's a natural answer right down there. But we can't, the whole valley, no matter what we face, is always, it's us against them, back and forth, and I'm going like, I don't care what the challenge you want to name, it's common to all of us, and we need to talk together. Not as Democrat, not as Republican, it's going like, let's have a conversation. And then we also have to ask the question to ourselves, what am I willing to do, or what am I willing to give up to try and answer some of these so that we become more of a complete valley? Progress is coming to this valley, change is inevitable. The old saying in business is, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Enough?
Yeah.